Hello everyone, welcome live to 3Y TV tonight's broadcast of the National Sim Racing Association Simbox Truck Series here from Dover, Delaware. Dover International Speedway here is the home of tonight's race. I'm Peter Short, and joining me in the booth here, as always, is Drew Eisenman. And Drew, here at Dover, we've been talking about it prior to the race. This is one of those racetracks where you either have a lot of green flag racing or Miles the Monster eats up these race trucks.
Yeah, it's a kind of a old Bristol on steroids, so to speak. It's so quick. The walls are so close. If the setup is kind of easier to drive, it can make for just kind of long green flag running where guys get in rhythms, and it can be a lot of fun and challenging as a driver. But if guys don't get in that rhythm, if the setups are a little bit more challenging, it can be a really long night for these guys. But I absolutely expect this to have a long green run feel based on what we've seen so far this year in the NSRA Simbox Truck Series.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a lot of conjecture during the week of we don't want another repeat of Richmond, so let's get a lot of practice in. They had multiple practice sessions throughout the week. These drivers trying to get tuned in for this racetrack here tonight. You can see right there Mitchell Adams in the number 49 machine. Last week's race winner was very, very quick last week in that number 49 machine, able to get to victory lane for the first time this season. Your reigning Simbox Truck Series champion right there with, of course, an all-pink race truck for October's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And once again, he is up near the top of the charts here, Drew, sitting third here with about a minute and a half left to go.
Yeah, I mean, he has been one of the most steady drivers pace-wise all year. Only one win to show for it, but he's been like really consistently quick. Maybe not the quickest guy, maybe not the favorite guy, but definitely has yet to really struggle at a track so far in that 49 truck. So I expect him to be quick here tonight, of course. I think we're going to see a lot of the guys that we've seen up front here early in, I guess, almost to the midpoint, kind of towards the middle of the Simbox Truck Series. But yeah, I mean, we're seeing a ton of familiar names up towards the front of this practice, and that's no coincidence. These guys that have run up front, it seems to be that these aren't like kind of track specialists, so to speak, where maybe you get a guy that hits a track early that is one of their favorites that they tend to run well at, but then they kind of fall off towards the end of the year. Nah, James Lorello, Mitchell Adams, Chris Darling, Bill Edwards, Ben Adams, all these guys have been really quick. And then I think one of those guys that we've kind of seen fluctuate up in P2 right now in practice is Andrew Himmelman. Some encouraging speed from him tonight. He's shown pace at certain tracks, hasn't at others, but it looks to be a good night for that Ford truck so far.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sitting right up there in the second position as of right now. Before we jump over into the qualifying session, I do want to bring up the current point standings coming into tonight. It does say Kansas Speedway up there, but that is, of course, the standings after Kansas Speedway. Bill Edwards in the number 50 comes into tonight as the points leader. Chris Darling, who has been on a little bit of a tear as of late, he's now in second. Jeff Price in third. How about TJ Buck sitting fourth position in points, and then Doug Miller, Paul Bilson, Colin Ullery, James Lorello, couple of wins to his name this season, Jeffrey Johnson, and Ben Adams rounding as your top 10. But one thing I've been noticing, Drew, over the last few weeks is it's really starting to close up at the top of the point standings.
Yeah, we kind of saw almost quite a bit of instability early on as some of these guys that have been so quick in the first few races have just encountered trouble, not of their own doing necessarily. And now we're starting to see that proverbial cream rise to the top, so to speak. And I know how fast Chris Darling is. I've raced with him before and experienced that how consistent he is over long runs. And it's no surprise that he's starting to gain momentum as we get further along into the season. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we have any big surprises up in points at this particular moment in the season. You know, the guys that might have surprised us at Daytona and kind of some of the more unpredictable tracks. When you get to places like Dover, it's going to be hard to look your way into a good finish here. Richmond the same way. I mean, heck, Kansas last week, that was a really challenging race. So we're definitely getting to these tracks where it is really going to separate these drivers and who has the really, really quick speed, and not just speed, but able to consistently hit their marks and not make mistakes. And that's exactly what I think of when I think of Chris Darling, is just, the same lap after lap, being consistent, saving his stuff, and doing what he needs to do to run well.
Yeah, currently sitting 7th on the board. There he is with the Total Nonstop Racing Stadium Truck Series. That kicks off this Saturday in the Total Nonstop Racing League. Of course, one of the leagues that we broadcast here on 3 Wide TV. We have a new provisional pole sitter, though. That's the number 2 of Justin White, who just took that truck to the top of the charts. James Orello in the number 9 machine trying to pick it up on lap number 2. He does pick it up on lap number 2, but not enough. Just 3/1000ths of a second faster that time by. He will stay in second position as of right now. Paul Bilson in the 51. He's right there inside the top 5, coming out of turn number 4. Almost kisses the outside wall. We're going to see that a lot here tonight, Drew. This is a racetrack. I like to liken this racetrack to a roller coaster. I know that's a pretty common idea about this racetrack, but just you kind of hop out of these corners.
Yeah, it's almost like a Texas turn 4, where you kind of rise out of the corner rather than fall out of the corner, maybe like Daytona and Talladega, right? Where you kind of, the banking falls down to the straightaways. Here, you actually fall into the corner, where the truck gets almost completely unloaded going into the corner, and then coming out, you kind of have, you ramp up. It's almost like like a rallycross style thing, where you kind of ramp up and the truck unloads right when it gets onto the straightaway. It is certainly unique. I compared it to Bristol. Maybe in general shape, but certainly the entry in the exit of these corners is almost opposite of Bristol, as we kind of talked about, how it has a really unusual configuration getting in and out of the banking.
Yeah, it's funny that you kind of mention rallying. If you were to put rallying on this racetrack, it would be left 4 under dip, left 4 over crest, left 4 under dip, left 4 over crest, just lap after lap after lap, because that's what this racetrack kind of races like. You can kind of see here with Nathan Maurer as the car loads up in turn number 3 right there, and just watch it kind of skip out of turn number 4 right there before the track kind of flattens out. So a very unique racetrack. I personally love racing here because it's one of those, I like to say, a driver's racetrack, because you can really manage your tires here and figure out how to get the best time over the long run. Will kind of allow you to see the rest of the starting lineup over there on the left-hand side of your screen, as we only have about 49 seconds left here in this session. We do have quite a few drivers here, Drew, who haven't gone out for qualifying. 23 drivers have elected to take time, but Bradley, Neal, Bradley, Sobel, Doucette, and G.J. Boydell not going out there on the racetrack. Brian Bradley and Nicholas Bradley currently both sitting in the pits, and the racetrack here going to go a little bit quiet here prior to the start of the Dover 180 here tonight. And Drew, a little bit of a long race here, 180 miles, 180 laps.
It's already a really demanding track. What I suspect for quite a few of those guys that didn't qualify, it's not that they didn't intend to. It's that it's so easy to get a 0x coming out of these corners, right? Because what we talked about, that truck unloads, and if you don't kind of have the right just the right line coming out of the corner, it's really easy to scrape the wall. And that wouldn't surprise me if some of those guys just got very, very slight 0x, which of course in iRacing means that lap doesn't count in qualifying. So yeah, it is a grueling race, especially on staring at a monitor or a VR headset like these guys are going to be doing here. Quite frankly, what I think is one of the more demanding ovals that these guys are going to drive on. There's not a lot of room for mistakes. It just takes a little bit of kind of just letting your mind wander coming out of one of these corners, and you can absolutely destroy your right front. I know I have done that on more than one occasion. So, yeah, I mean, it's also this length of a race. It's going to really, really emphasize saving your stuff, taking care of your tires, taking care of your equipment. And we'll see who – I think we're going to see whoever can do that the best is probably going to finish, if not in victory lane, definitely towards the front.
Absolutely. Justin White here picking up the Sim Racing Shirts Pole Award. And that number 2 machine, James Lorello alongside him. Ooh, a little bit of connection issues for your pole sitter there on the grid. Starting on row number 2, we got the number 50 of Bill Edwards and Paul Bilson. Keep an eye on them. A couple of drivers up there near the top of the points. Row number 3 on the inside, Mitchell Adams, last week race winner from Kansas, and to his outside, Drew Himmelman, who was very, very quick in the practice session just a little while ago. Row number 4 on the inside, the 971, Nathan Maurer and Jamar Dumas, and the number 28, Texaco Haviland Chevrolet. Well, keep an eye on him here tonight. Row number 5 and rounding out your top 10 is Peter Serto and Christopher Darling.
And just outside of that top 10 will be the number 6 of Doug Milliner. And P11 to his outside will be the 15 of Robert Dudley. Jeff Price will start 13th in that 14 truck. And in 14th will be the 13 of Jordan Shepler. Ben Adams, the following row in that 5 truck, will start in P15. With Philip Scott in that 44 to his outside in P16. The 84, TJ Buck in that bright blue and pink truck will be starting in P17. To his outside will be Matt Vanderkoy in that 60. Colin Ullery will be starting on the inside of the following row in down there in 19th position. And the 05 of Stephen Doziak Jr. will be starting to his outside in P20.
Yeah, starting on the next row in the 21st position, number 33 of Jeffrey Johnson Jr. Ben Mashburn will start 24th. There he is. On row number 12, the last car to take time, the number 88 of Michael Mooney and the number 30 of Joshua Sobel. Got a good look of Sobel. Ooh, I don't see Sobel out there on the racetrack right now. Brian Bradley and the number 16, Nicholas Bradley on row number 13. Row number 14, Doug Neal, G.J. Boydell, Joey Doucette. And the number 29 machine will round out the field here tonight. But the car is now rolling through turn number 3 and 4. Drew, 180 laps. We're about to go green.
Yeah, these guys are rolling through 3 and 4 right here with the number 2 truck, our pole sitter, leading them through turns 4 as the pace car here pulls off, coming out of turn 4. Flagman with the green flag in his hand. When that thing falls, we will be green. Here we go. Green flag here at Dover.
Green flag is out, and look at that outside line, already getting a little bit of a shot. That's James Lorello who's going to jump to the race lead. He's no stranger to leading here in the Simbox Truck Series. He's led quite a few races. White's going to slot into second, and that was a little bit of a wiggle out of the number 50 of Bill Edwards, who's side by side with Drew Himmelman right there in that number 4 truck. But here comes Mitchell Adams, last week race winner. He's digging here in the early going. He's going to hold on to the 5th position. A little bit further back behind him, the 971, you see Simbox on the side of Nathan Maurer in that truck. So far, so good here in the early going at Dover.
Yeah, Drew Himmelman in that 4 truck kind of got stuck there on the outside, lost quite a few positions on the start. Well, at least like he moved up and then dropped some. Started P6, running P6. So yeah, I don't. Dover can be so setup dependent in whether we're going to see this high line be able to be competitive or not. It can be really challenging as the 14 of Jeff Price just washed way up the track at a turn 2 trying to make that outside line work. Doesn't seem to be working. So looks so far to be that this is going to be a fairly single file race, which definitely lends itself to being one of those long green flag races that we talked about. And now looking back towards the middle of the pack, that 14 truck got really tight out of 2 the last time by. Had to get way out of the throttle. That cost him, if not a few spots, at least quite a bit of momentum. As now we're looking at that 5 of Ben Adams making a move. Yeah, that high lane right there, not much grip, as I can't make out which truck that was, that black truck is outside, but he just had nothing going. Can't carry any momentum out there. It looks like almost like there's a ton of marbles out there to start the race. We'll see if that lane is able to get rubbered in a little bit as guys kind of get stuck out there. But right now, certainly want to be on the bottom. That is where all the speed is.
Yeah, and there goes Matt Vanderkoy and Ben Mashburn as Milliner continues to slide back here in the field. Pretty much all single file until you get back to Stephen Doziak back there. But back up towards the front, there is Bill Edwards in the number 50 truck. He's kind of found himself all alone in a little island here. A couple of tenths back behind Mitchell Adams, and he's a couple tenths himself in front of Nathan Maurer. Looking a little bit further back, Chris Darling starting to dice it up. That's the number 15, Robert Dudley, right behind him. We've seen Dudley be very quick in that race truck, but currently Dudley didn't have the greatest qualifying lap, and now he finds himself just inside the top 10 now, as he just got around Jamar Dumas, and Dumas here sliding back as he slides back to 12th and now under fire from TJ Buck.
Yeah, 28 truck really started to struggle here. Got really tight out of turn 2, and then here about a lap and a half ago, 2 laps ago, and then the 47 truck put it to the inside, and he's just kind of struggled to get back to that bottom to kind of recover that speed, that rhythm that he had early on that led him to be solidly inside the top 10. Is now he has fallen back to 12th position, in that 13 truck all over his back bumper. Is the 62 Colin Hoolery made a little bit of a, showed the nose of that 14 truck, but it really seems like that 28 truck is struggling. Not that he struggled, but he's definitely excelled in qualifying relative to his race pace so far this season, and that is showing to be the case here at Dover. It's just, it's the 13 truck. I think might have just tagged that outside wall. That's one thing that I know I personally have struggled with here at Dover, is feeling comfortable when you think you're about to knock that wall down, to just trust that truck, trust that car, trust the setup that you're not going to knock the wall down coming out of the corner, because it certainly feels like it inside of that vehicle that you're not going to make it on the exit and you're going to knock that wall down. And I think the guys that feel comfortable doing it, the 13 truck does get into the outside wall there, Peter.
Yeah, that number 13 truck once again struggling. That is Jordan Scheffler. We watched this battle, a couple of cars in front. Peter Serto in the number 32 to the outside of TJ Buck. You can definitely see, though, back behind him, the 13 of Scheffler is starting to hold up this train of cars. There's the number 44 of Philip Scott. Got the Total Nonstop Racing Stadium Truck Series on the hood as well, similar to Chris Darling. He comes under fire from Ben Mashburn, who we saw here on 3 Wide TV on Monday night in the Total Nonstop Racing League. He's going to drive to the inside of that 44 and try and take that spot. This is a battle a little bit further back in the pack. A little bit further up, the number 4 of Andrew Himmelman has slid back. Doesn't look like he's tagged the wall or anything, but he was stuck up there in that high groove, Drew, that you were mentioning. Just doesn't seem to have any grip at this point of the race, and now he comes under fire from Peter Serto. Serto just kind of looking underneath him, but being a little bit patient here in the early going. Just backed out of it, and now Serto goes up the racetrack. He's now kind of stuck out there. And Drew, we used to talk about tracks like Bristol. Oh, contact between the 28 and the number 32, and the number 28 is going to go around, and no caution. How about that, folks? He's off the racing line. We'll go back and see this one on the 3 Wide TV replay. See if we can get a better look at it from high atop. Look at the 32. He might have tagged the wall a little bit. They bumped him, bang. Look at Jeff Price, nowhere to go in the 14 truck. But somehow we stay green flag. And the number 28 of Jamar Dumas is going to slide well down the field. You can see right now he's running back in the 26th position. In fact, he's not far in front of James Lorello, next truck behind him. From going one lap down, there is Lorello, who continues to lead over Justin White, your Sim Racing Shirts Pole Award winner here tonight. But Paul Bilson, Mitchell Adams, they've closed in on the back of that number 2 truck.
Yeah, just kind of going back to the incident real quick, because I was watching it from the good old blimp cam, which is one of my favorites. Yeah, it looked like, Serto certainly moved down in the straightaway, but I think actually they didn't really touch. A little bit of net code there between the 32 and that 28 truck, and certainly unfortunate for the 28 and the 14. I think Jeff Price was starting to look like his form was really coming in here at Dover, and then to get caught up in something that he had nothing to do with, and quite frankly probably shouldn't have happened based on kind of, the trucks didn't touch. Certainly has to be frustrating for both the 14 and that 28 truck. But yeah, up front, I think we're looking, James Lorello looking really solid here, 1.1, 1.2 seconds-ish in front of that 2. And then kind of, a tenth or 2 between guys, really kind of evenly spread out until you get outside of that top 5. And you get to that 971 of Nathan Maurer in 6th. Then it's almost double the gap between 5th to the leader, and the gap from 5th to 6th, so to speak, is double the gap between the 5th and the leader. So quite a big gap there, and then quite a big gap then to Chris Darling. But seems, other than that incident, to kind of be really strung out here is that you see some of the guys that have gotten into the wall so far struggling here. And is that the 2 starting to fall back there, Peter?
Yeah, we were watching the turn 4 cam, which is honestly my favorite camera around this entire track, and we saw the 2 of Justin White get the outside wall pretty darn good. He's now slid back to 5th from 2nd. That has elevated Mitchell Adams and Bill Edwards up to 2nd and 3rd respectively, and now the 971 of Nathan Maurer starting to close in on the back of the 51 and the 2. In fact, both the 51 and the 2 have damage, as Maurer just going to drop underneath White there to take that 5th position, so move him up into the top 5. But definitely we've seen that outside wall already start to knock down some trucks. That is what I was expecting to see here tonight. Miles the Monster is, of course, the character that you see out front of this racetrack. And this is a racetrack that's very, very tricky. Like we said, especially coming out of the corners where you kind of lurch, you jump up out of the corners. The truck tends to get very light there. It tends to get very tight because of that. And yep, a couple things come together, and the outside wall is going to be your friend. Fortunately, not the friend you really want, but Justin White here now sliding back to 8th.
Yeah, I think it's one of those tracks that I would probably put it second to Darlington as far as just difficulty making good lap times. You can be doing everything right, and if you don't quite find the bottom, kind of almost doing that diamond exit in turns 2 and 4, if you're just outside of that groove, it's just so demanding in perfection just to make really good competitive lap times. I think it has the mascot of Miles the Monster and everything, but I honestly think it's kind of underrated and underappreciated by a lot of fans about how freaking difficult this place can be. As we saw another truck there on screen, I believe that's the 51 of Bilson. I can't quite make it out. Getting into the wall, it's just so tricky to just be consistent and quick here without making mistakes.
Yeah, Paul Bilson right there in the 51 machine getting the outside wall again. Nathan Maurer, however, was just passed by the number 47 of Chris Darling, who now is inside the top 5 for the first time tonight. He runs in 4th. And how about Ben Adams in the number 5? He's been following Chris Darling up through the field here in the opening 26 laps, as we have been clean and green for the first 26 laps. And it won't be all too long here, Drew, before we start talking about green flag pit stops here in the Simbox Truck Series, because they do run a smaller fuel tank. They run about 50% of the full NASCAR regulation tank, which means lots of green flag pit stops, and we've seen that just about at every track here this season. As was that Mitchell Adams? Let's just go back and take a quick peek. Did he have a slide coming out of turn number 2? We'll see. This is on the replay. It looked like he might have had a slide, but no, I guess I'm just seeing things here tonight, Drew. But I'll tell you what, that number 49 is being hounded by the 50 of Edwards, who's been so strong up at the top of the point standings. That number 50 truck has been a force to be reckoned with every single week, and here he goes diving to the inside. This is a battle for the 2nd position. Edwards has the preferred line. Can he do anything with it? Adams goes way up the racetrack, just gonna let the 50 of Edwards on by. So now Edwards finds himself in 2nd, but 2.3 seconds behind James Lorello in the number 9 truck.
And you're certainly not going to miss that 50 truck there on track. Chrome and pink is something that will certainly stand out. I love it. I love that kind of high contrast, high visibility schemes. But you're not going to not notice that 50 truck, as he has shown quite a bit of pace here. As Lorello just slowly kind of 10th to a lap extended that lead here from the start of the race up to just over 2 seconds to Bill Edwards. We'll see if he can cut into James Lorello. 47 truck also been really quick, about 2/10-ish around there, quicker than our leader that last time by. Again, not surprising at all that Chris Darling, once we get in the groove, is really quick here. Like what we talked about, Ben Adams, a lot of these guys we've seen up front all year, and at a track that's as difficult as Dover, it's no surprise that these guys are once again up front. As who are we looking at, Pete?
We were looking at James Lorello back there. Here is Bill Edwards and Mitchell Adams getting their way around a lap truck. I believe that is the 88 of Michael Mooney, currently the first truck 1 lap down. You see him right there, RC Cola on the hood, struggling here in the early portion of this race. As you can see, started 23rd, now running in 25th, right in front of Jamar Dumas in the 28. Dumas right there, almost getting run over again. Remember, he was spun around on the front stretch. He was able to get it pointed in the right direction. Luckily, doesn't look like a whole lot of damage on that 28 Texaco Haviland Chevrolet, but he is battling Michael Mooney for that lucky dog position, so this could be a very important pass if he can pull this one off, if a caution flag was to fly. Of course, a big shout out to Brookstone Animal Hospital for sponsoring our Lucky Dog Award, and got a little bit of news that Stan Hausman, his wife, owns that, and she is expecting, so Stan not in the field here tonight, but he, as I said, expecting, and, good luck to them. Contact the number 4 of Andrew Himmelman around on the front stretch, and that will bring out the caution. And we were just talking about, contact between the 50 and the 51, and more cars getting involved. The 2 and the 6. Milliner gets a chunk of it. Boy, oh boy, this is going to be one that we're going to have to break down, because Drew, here at Dover, the track gets blocked very, very quickly, and it can lead to these type of accidents.
Yeah, it looks like the 88 gets into the outside wall, and then the outside wall kind of throws him into the 4 truck, and then it's just a case of that 15 trying to make it to the outside, but then the 51's there, and that's going to be some serious damage, and then guys just nowhere to go. Unfortunately, the 4 truck looked like he was fine until I believe that was the 2, and I can't quite make out that black truck got into him there, and man, yeah, you just see how quickly at Dover, because there's nowhere for these trucks to go, especially on the front stretch. They just kind of get launched right back into the racing groove, and then it just becomes so difficult to avoid them. We'll see what if that 4 truck of Drew Himmelman, so quick, man, and showed great pace tonight, and just to be caught up by a lap truck kind of getting to the outside wall, and then guys just getting, it looked like that truck just got tagged by another one behind him, launched him into that 4 truck. Quite a few trucks that had showed quite a bit. I think that's the 6, if I'm not mistaken. Man, slammed into the back of the 4, slammed into the 15, and quite a few of those guys are going to have a lot of damage.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely not what you want to see at all here tonight. Meanwhile, your leaders are on pit road for the first time here tonight. There goes Andrew Himmelman in the number 4 truck. He's going to get off out there, back out onto the racing surface. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that Jamar Dumas, no, it doesn't look like Jamar Dumas was your lucky dog here tonight. We'll have to see whether or not that's the case. It actually might have been Matt Vander Koy. Let me see if I can figure out exactly who the lucky dog was under this caution, because we saw that the 28 was racing for the lucky dog position, but I don't know if he was ever able to get that or what the deal was. I think I figured out who your Lucky Dog Award winner is. Sorry for the long delay here, folks, but your Lucky Dog winner is that man right there in the 05. That's Stephen Doziak Jr. We'll bring up the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award logo right there at the bottom of your screen, and we'll get back on the lead lap in that really good-looking Dunkin' Donuts scheme there, Drew.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for Dunkin' Donuts. I definitely have a cup or 2 of Dunkin' Donuts every morning. Just some real good coffee that they make. But yeah, it's I think it's kind of a saving grace for quite a few guys. Like I was going to say the 2, but I don't think after that. The 2's going to be quite as much of a saving grace as you would like. But a lot of these guys that have maybe gotten to the outside wall and gotten some right front damage. Pierre DeCerto got involved in that deal that didn't cause a caution. I mean, Jamar Dumas, rather. He at least is going to be able to repair that truck that was pretty severely damaged there under that incident under green. So I think a lot of these guys, unless you're James Zarello, Bill Edwards, Chris Darling, Mitchell Adams, unless you're one of those guys kind of in the top 5 that felt pretty comfortable where they're at, you really are looking forward to having this break and being able to repair any damage that you have through a fresh set of Goodyears on there, and just kind of have a nice reset. You kind of got in that rhythm. You figured out maybe this is what I need to work on here. Maybe I burned my right front off by being too aggressive early. And this offers a reset for those guys to kind of be able to figure out what they need to do better here on this next run.
Yeah, and a couple of those drivers who did get damage under that accident that happened on the front stretch, they were able to get some of that damage repaired, which will be good to see exactly how damaged their race trucks are. Jamar Dumas right there in the 28. Looks like he's going to be stuck a lap down. Michael Mooney stuck a lap down, as is the number 32 right there, Peter Serto. 20 trucks on the lead lap when the green flag flies here. They're working their way through turn number 3 and 4, right behind that Ford Mustang pace car, which is going to disappear from the front of James Zarello. Green flag in the flagman's hand. There he is. Just waiting for him to wave it here as we will get to lap number 40. 39 miles in the books. Just 141 more laps here to go tonight at Dover International Speedway. Lorello out to an early lead here in this run over Bill Edwards, who sits in second. Mitchell Adams in third. We've seen the 50 and the 49 kind of glued together for the first portion of this race here, Drew. But now we'll see if that number 49 can get on by, as we see Paul Bilson there in the 51 trucks. Looks like he's damaged and off pace, probably from getting a piece of that last accident that we had. And that is a tough break for Bilson, because he has been up there in the point standings, and definitely doesn't look like it's going to be the night he was hoping for tonight.
Yeah, and that's certainly based on kind of the pace we just saw from that 51 truck. That is going to be a long last 140 laps of this race for him, as he is quite a ways off pace. And it's just so, you're just stressed out trying to not cause problems when you have a damaged vehicle like that, but still trying to turn laps. But James Lorello got a heck of a restart, as now we're looking at the 16 of Brian Bradley, who I think this is probably the highest forward that we've seen, that 16 truck. I don't know if he kind of lucked into pit strategy here or what, or if this is just some really nice pace from the 16, but I don't think I've seen him up in the top 5 before this season, and it certainly seems like he is closing in on the back of Mitchell Adams there, last year's champion in that 49 truck. Pretty impressive showing here from that 16 there, Peter.
Yeah, and you can see that number down there started in 25th position here tonight, so gained 21 spots. Of course, like you said, hasn't quite had the showing that we expected out of this number 16 truck early in the season, but hoping to turn it around here tonight at Dover International Speedway, as he, like you said, now inside the top 5 and really pulling away from the cars behind him. The next car behind him is Jordan Scheffler right there. We've seen him in the outside wall a couple times. Then you find Chris Darling. And how about Doug Neal in the number 77 Simbox Chevy Silverado? He started well back in the field here tonight. Started 27th, now running up in 7th. So strong showing in the early going for that number 77 truck. And I'm starting to see something, Drew, kind of throughout the field, and we'll see if we can kind of see it this time as they come down out of turn number 4, I should say, because, well, there we go. There's the turn number 4 camera. Look at all the trucks. Now, it's kind of hard to see because they're flashing by, but look at all the trucks that already have damage at this stage of the race, and kind of look to see where the trucks that don't have any damage are. You'll see that those trucks that don't have any damage are kind of towards the top end of the field. The trucks that have kind of scraped the wall, those are the ones who are starting to kind of fall back. You top 4 even don't have damage. Then you have the Jordan Scheffler and a group of trucks that you can kind of see that right front already crinkled in. So it looks like tonight keeping your truck clean is paramount.
Yeah, I know. With iRacing especially, right front damage equals tight, and tight at Dover is a bad condition to have. I would always prefer to steer the car with a throttle at Dover, be a little loose, than to be tight here, because then it just lends itself to to knocking down that wall even harder that next time you get really tight off the corner. And then obviously with these trucks, the draft is so important that any type of aero issues that you're going to have are going to make a huge difference here, especially with the current package that these guys are running. As we're looking at TJ Buck making a move on Colin Ullery here. Ullery, that was a pretty impressive defense by Ullery. We haven't seen that outside line really be able to defend their position like he was 2, 3, and 4. And then once again through 1 and 2, that 62 truck has kind of figured out how to make it at least competitive on that outside lane, which at least I have not been able to see basically happen otherwise so far this race.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry for the little bit of a technical gremlins that we're facing here tonight. Not 100% sure what's causing iRacing to lose focus, but it is losing focus here tonight. That's the technical Windows term for what is happening there. But nonetheless, Ben Adams running right behind Doug Neal. This is a tight battle, backed really for the 6th position, but that's currently held by that Stadium Truck Toyota Tundra, driven by Chris Darling. Doug Neal in 7th, Ben Adams in 8th, and a little bit of a gap back to TJ Buck, who, after getting around Colin Ullery, finally starting to close in on the back of Ben Adams. Good showing here in the early going by Ben Adams in that number 5 truck.
Yeah, I mean, really impressive by Ben Adams. He's kind of been one of those guys that he seems to have been pretty track dependent so far this year on pace. We've seen exceptional pace from him at some of the 1.5s, and then at other tracks not quite as close to the front, but started 15th up to 8th, keeping that truck clean, which, as we've spoken to, is just so important here at Dover. So good showing here by that 5 truck. Who is just right behind the 77 of Doug Neal, who also is having a really impressive showing after starting 26th position, making his way up to 7th. Chris Darling making a move there on that 13 to Jordan Shepler. He's one of those guys that's really patient, which is definitely smart here at Dover, but you can just lose so much time when you're waiting for that truck in front of you to kind of make a mistake to get around him, because forcing an issue here can lead to disaster, as we've seen on 2 occasions, only one being cautioned so far here tonight. So, patience on that 47 truck has paid off, and him getting by him as we have a truck slow on the apron. What happened here, Pete?
This is Philip Scott. He was one of the trucks involved in the one and only caution to come out here tonight, and it just doesn't look like that number 44 Toyota Tundra is up to pace. He is currently being scored 19 laps down. That's right, 19 behind your race leader right now in the Total Nonstop Racing Stadium Truck Toyota Tundra. And you can see just getting passed by a bunch of trucks. Not quite sure if Philip Scott's just going to try and ride this one out. He is 2 laps behind the number 15 of Robert Dudley, who currently sits on pit road. Doug Milliner as well is 2 laps in front of Philip Scott. Both of those trucks sitting stopped in their box as of right now. Meanwhile, back at the front, car is still out there on the racetrack. That's the number 9 of James Arello. He is your current race leader, currently pulling away from the number 50 of Bill Edwards, who sits in 2nd. Mitchell Adams now a little bit of a gap back to 3rd. And another gap back to Brian Bradley, who continues to ride around in the 4th position in that truck. And we have a caution. Caution flag is out, and it's around Matt Vander Kooi. We'll see if we can figure out what happened here, Drew.
Yeah, it looks like the 13 and the 60 here, kind of side by side. Oh, a little bit of that is a big hit for that 13 truck, and then kind of on top of that 60's hood there at a turn 2. I don't know if they made contact. I know that I've seen iRacing connection problems throughout the field. And so let's see here if there is a little bit of contact or if it's just net code. That looks, I mean, if it wasn't net code, I think it would have been contact anyways. And then some funky physics throwing that 16 and the 60 and the 30 truck rather around. But I think both of those trucks are going to have really substantial damage. I know the 13 had suffered damage early in this race, but this certainly is not helping stuff. I thought that was some engine smoke, but I don't think it quite is. But just really tight quarters on the exit of these corners, as we've talked about. It's such a challenging task just to get through the exit of these corners single file. And when you're running side by side and just one of those two drivers makes a slight alteration, just a slight mistake, it can result in one of those wrecks like we just saw, Pete.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely didn't work out all too well for those trucks. Meanwhile, we do have your Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award winner. There he is right there. That, of course, is the number 28 of Jamar Dumas, involved in an accident a little while ago. Now finds himself back on the lead lap. I do expect him to come down pit road here very shortly. In fact, looks like that's what he's indicating right now. He's going to come down, get 4 fresh Goodyear tires, and he'll be back out there on the racetrack on the lead lap. So that's good news. Another truck to fight things out. But up at the front, we had a couple of trucks elect to stay out first time round. Looks like they're all coming in second time round, because James Sorello will once again inherit the lead. But Drew, we're now about 30 laps away from the halfway mark. We'll bring up the race summary down there, bottom left-hand corner of the screen. Just 2 cautions here tonight, and this being the second of them. James Sorello basically leading the most laps as well. And if you bring up laps led up at the top of your screen, only 3 drivers have led a lap here so far: Lorello, TJ Buck, and Matt Vanderkoy. So very interesting to see how fast this number 9 of Lorello is tonight.
Yeah, and essentially those other 2 have only led a lap under caution during the pit sequences. So pretty dominant showing so far from that 9. He hasn't been exceptionally fast compared to the rest of the field, but just a half a tenth a lap, which is, I mean, at Dover, when you're running 22, 23-second laps, a half a tenth is a large percentage of the lap relative to a lot of the places that we'll run these trucks at. So just so consistent and so quick. It's not surprising given the speed that this 9 truck has demonstrated at other races thus far this season. But here at Dover, I have yet to see anybody that has really seriously challenged his speed. I was interested to see what the 50 truck could do, as this is the first time he restarted behind James Sorello this last time by. But it seemed like the 9 had Bill Edwards covered that last time by about a tenth a lap. As this track does change, because in iRacing we do have a dynamic track surface, maybe not as dynamic as far as multi-groove racing is concerned that I think a lot of us would like, but it certainly can change the handling of these trucks. And will that have an effect? Can anybody else figure out a way to combat James Sorello? Because as it stands now, he certainly is the odds-on favorite. But here at Dover, we've seen just how quickly a calm race can turn into a very sudden end of a race. So just because that 9 truck's fast certainly doesn't mean that this race is over, Pete.
Absolutely. We haven't really mentioned the chat here tonight. Tana Himmelman rooting, of course, Ben Adams and Andrew Himmelman on. Jeff Price in the chat as well, saying, man, this is 3 weeks in a row that bad luck has struck that number 14 truck. We got Shaq in the chat as well, rooting on Stephen Doziak. Garrett Gleason saying, let's go Chris Darling, Philip Scott, and Stephen Doziak. And they got to get on, because they got to get on the loud pedal, because the green flag is once again out. James Sorello gonna get ahead here over the number 50 of Bill Edwards. Mitchell Adams in third. The top 3 basically been right where they've been all night long. Ben Adams there in fourth. He's under fire from the 47 of Chris Darling, who's been moving up through the point standings here. So what can Chris Darling do? Has a little bit of damage on that race truck. And Drew, the good news is every time they can come down pit road, they can possibly get a little bit of that damage repaired and get that truck pointed in the right direction.
Yeah, bad news is they never seem to quite handle the same as they did before you got that damage. So you might get it fixed, but I don't think it's ever going to quite handle as well. And it always seems to lack just a little bit of pace, but doesn't seem to be hurting Chris Darling here, as he'll make a move on that 5 truck of Ben Adams through 1 and 2. Can he defend? As the 16 kind of seems like he cycled back, unfortunately, towards the back of the field-ish, of at least of guys running on track. As he's down there in 16th position, battling a 2 truck, who, quite frankly, given the amount of damage that's on that truck, is running pretty well down there in 17th. It's kind of, at this point, I'm sure that 2 is just trying to make the most out of what is already a compromised night, considering there is still just 115-ish laps to go here. So a heck of a long night for these guys that already have quite a bit of damage. But looking back up front, Chris Darling made a move on that 5 and now is starting maybe to run down Mitchell Adams in that 49 truck.
Yeah, without a doubt. Chris Darling right there in the number 47. I got Max Grafix on the side of that truck. Of course, one of the sponsors that you see up in the top left-hand corner of the screen. So got to give them a huge shout out. He works his way now coming out of turn number 4 all over the back bumper now of last week's race winner from Kansas, Mitchell Adams. Right behind him, though, is Ben Adams in the number 5. He's not backing down in the Sim Racing Shirts Chevy Silverado. And how about the number 05, Stephen Doziak, the Dunkin' Donuts machine? He was 1 lap down, got the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award, now inside the top 10 solidly in the 7th position. I know we got some Doziak fans in the chat here tonight rooting him on. He's right behind Doug Neal, who started well back in the pack in the 77, now running inside the top 10 in 6th. But up at the front, last time Bill Edwards just closed in just a little bit on your race leader, James Lorello. And Drew, these are a couple of teammates. This 2 are teammates between Lorello and Edwards, and we've mentioned their names a heck of a lot here in the first third of the season because, folks, we're at the 1/3 distance of the 2020-2021 Simbox Truck Series tonight.
Yeah, and both of these guys have showed quite a bit of pace. I think Lorello, I mean, he and I don't believe the 48 truck not here tonight, but those are the 2 guys to me that have shown consistently a ton of pace. But I think like kind of where there's those 2 drivers that the next guy would be probably the 50, the 47, the 49 truck all have been so quick. So it's certainly not surprising to see those teammates running 1-2 right now, as I believe we are on board the 05 truck here, looking forward at the 77 of Doug Neal right in front of him. Just outside the top 5 is one of those slow lap trucks. Man, again, once again, that's just going to be a heck of a long night. I believe that was the 44 truck. But on board here, you can really appreciate how quickly that wall comes up on you coming out of the corner, and just how easy it is just to tag that right front and really compromise the handling of that truck.
Yeah, you see up the front of Doziak's 05, Doug Neal right there in the number 77. Now we'll check in on one of the drivers who was up flirting with a top 5 earlier on, the number 16 of Brian Bradley. And Drew, I'm just kind of wondering if that was track position, because we've seen here Brian Bradley fall like a stone now through the field. He's back to 18th and really struggling here to get past the 2 of Justin White. In fact, Justin White and Bradley are losing the back end of Matt Vander Kooi in the number 60, who has quite a bit of damage on that Ford F-150 you see right there. Jamar Dumas, now that he's back on the lead lap as he gets around. Oh man, Phillips got in the outside wall there just a little bit. Just, you know, just try and even out the damage. Maybe left side and right side and hope it helps. Probably not going to help. From experience, it never helps. And there you have Andrew Himmelman, who got a little bit of damage earlier on as well. You see that right rear of that number 4 truck, but he's out there soldiering on, which is not what he wanted to have happen because he was so fast in the practice session prior to the race. But Drew, we're starting to close in on the halfway mark now, about 15 laps away from the cross flags.
We certainly are, and if we can focus back up front here, we certainly have the most competitive race for the lead that we've seen so far, is the basically 1 through 4 and almost 5th in the 5 of Ben Adams has really closed in on this 9 truck of James Lorello. Like we were talking about, I don't know if the track's changed, the handling of these trucks have changed, or if these guys have just been watching the back of that 9 truck and just figured out what he's been doing so well. But Bill Edwards, Mitchell Adams, and Chris Darling, and just a little bit behind them, that 5 truck of Ben Adams, have really started to close in on James Lorello now. I mean, we certainly know here at Dover, at what really is essentially a one-group racetrack, catching a truck and passing them is certainly 2 different things. Is you kind of have to alter your line, which compromises your speed. So we'll see how patient these guys can be. Maybe that 9 truck's just saved a little bit of tire. Time will tell, but this is certainly the closest the rest of that field has been to that 9 truck.
Yeah, James Arello still out front, led all but 2 laps, I believe, here so far tonight. Actually, might have been 3 laps. I'm not 100% sure, but regardless, basically almost led every single lap. And that's the key thing to mention as he goes across the stripe to lead yet another. Can't rule out Bill Edwards there, Mitchell Adams in third, and Chris Darling right behind him. Ben Adams in the number 5 has dropped off the back of this train just a little bit over the last couple of laps or so. We'll ride on board here with the number 47 of Chris Darling working his way through turn number 3 and 4. Bright pink number 49 right in front of him. We saw a good battle last week with the number 49 machine walking away with the checkered flag at Kansas Speedway. And Drew, it was a lot of adversity last week for Mitchell Adams to get to the checkered flag first, but he did so, and definitely looking strong again here tonight.
I mean, you would certainly hope to repeat the form that he has shown lately as the defending champion. I know he's had to miss a few races. I know he's trying to not miss anymore, but that's, life always at least should come before sim racing, and that's absolutely the case with Mitchell Adams. But yeah, he has. He drove a heck of a race at Kansas, which I think was a little more difficult of a race than we were anticipating, just because it seems like these trucks are so sensitive to any type of right side damage, which isn't necessarily the case with the rest of the oval cars. I know, I haven't driven the Cup car very much since they have cut all the power out of it, but it seemed like that truck, or that vehicle rather, was not nearly as aerosensitive as these trucks seem to be. And I know the 87 cars, which are certainly my favorite oval cars to drive, it seems to be, if you don't have a meatball, it doesn't really matter what kind of damage you have on those things. They tend to not lose their speed very much, but it certainly seems like these trucks are so aerosensitive. And at Kansas, we saw that being a huge factor. Tonight, we've spoken to that about keeping that right front clean. And Mitchell Adams in a race last week where everyone seemed to really struggle not getting into that outside wall, he was able to keep that truck clean and bring home that victory. And then tonight, although, man, there's some heavy lap traffic throughout the field, he's kind of doing that same thing here tonight.
Yeah, we're watching the battle right now for 8th, all the way back to about the 13th position. 8th is currently held by Joey Doucette in the number 61 Mountain Dew Chevrolet. Does have Colin Ullery right behind him and Jeffrey Johnson Jr. Remember, Johnson Jr., one of the trucks that's inside the top 10 in the point standings coming into tonight. Nicholas Bradley in the 40 truck as well, trying to put together a strong run. But look at Andrew Himmelman with all that damage. That number 4 truck right there has closed in on the back bumper of Ben Mashburn. Now, Mashburn got shuffled to the high side as, Jeffrey Johnson Jr. looking for a pass there on the backstretch. Going to think better of it, just ducking behind Ullery for now. But Himmelman here definitely closed in on this. Oh, man, the 61 in the wall. And just like that, Joey Doucette spinning around Ullery and Andrew Himmelman and the 16 all pile in. Boy, oh boy, once again, turn number 4 striking here tonight. We've seen it a couple times here, Drew. Seems like every caution that we've had happen was right here coming out of turn number 4. You see the 61 go spinning. Ullery back up the racetrack, nowhere for Himmelman to go. The number 16 as well getting a big chunk of it. But turn number 4 here, big calamity corner.
Yeah, I've never noticed a difference in these corners, but it certainly seems like there has been tonight, as now we're looking at Colin Ullery here, kind of ducking low, truck to his outside, gets into the wall. He gets into the wall, and then just the rest of these guys, they're trying to slow these trucks down. A huge hit for the 4, who's already been in so much tonight. The 16 we saw running earlier slams into the 4. The 24, Ben Mashburn, actually got into the turn 4 wall as well, and it cost him a ton of momentum, and I think it actually probably prevented him from getting into those guys that were wrecking. So one of those deals where it's certainly, you don't want to get into the wall, but if you do, sometimes it can be a lifesaver. As you'll see here, he gets high, gets into that wall, and that kind of really slows that truck down, and then he's able to not carry all that speed that you're seeing these guys around him carry into this wreck, and definitely prevents that truck from being more severely damaged than it was.
Yeah, definitely a little fortuitous there. That's for sure. But we're trying to see if we can figure out who your Lucky Dog Award winner is, and I think we have. I think it is the number 88 of Michael Mooney. You see him right there. We have a couple of trucks damaging off the pace, including the number 62, Colin Ullery. He's trying to kill some mosquitoes with the smoke pouring out the back of that race truck. And I think we also have the number 4, Andrew Himmelman, who might be done for the night. He also had a blown motor. So definitely not what this field wanted to have happen. There is James Lorello, however. He's going to come down pit road in the number 9. Trying to figure out what, I don't know what's exactly happening with live timing and scoring. It's showing Jeffrey Johnson Jr. as the race leader. We'll have to see if we can figure out exactly what happened there. But you see all those damaged race trucks. Another truck that I noticed, something must have happened to him, is the 05 of Steven Doziak. He's sitting on pit row. Let's make sure that we're live. Hey, guess what? We weren't live. That's why it showed the number 33 as the race leader. But Steven Doziak, remember, Drew, he made that charge up through the field. Looks like he's going to be on the lead lap, but definitely can confirm that man right there, Michael Mooney, is your Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award winner under this caution.
Yeah, we've seen a ton of pace to that 88 truck at several races this season. Unfortunately, here at Dover, not quite the same amount of pace that he had at Kansas at the very least. But we saw the 9 truck this last run challenged in a way that I kind of was not expecting. In the 50, 49, the 47, all seemed to have pace, if not greater than at least equal to him, as basically this group of trucks that we're focused on now, which we haven't really seen all night. And it seemed like right before that caution came out, it almost looked like that 50 truck had honestly found a little bit of something and was really on the tailgate of that 9 truck. But again, it's just so hard to pass here, especially when you're up towards the front and you have guys that just aren't making mistakes and are being really consistent. So it's certainly going to be a challenge to get by this 9 truck. I think, honestly, the best opportunity for any of these top 4 or 5 drivers is going to be to try to somehow time one of these restarts and get by him then. I think restarts when these trucks aren't quite up to pace, when you can kind of take advantage of alternative grooves just because you're not right at that edge of that limit of grip quite yet, it can kind of give you a different advantage. So we'll see. He's been so strong, but I'm seeing encouraging signs from the rest of these top 5 drivers that it might not be signed, sealed, and delivered for James Lorello in this 9 truck.
Yeah, they definitely seem to be finding the pace that they need to at least keep with Lorello. And of course, we now have gotten past the halfway mark, so cross flags in the air that last time by. So 90 laps down, 90 laps to go. It'll be 89 to go this time by. The green flag is in the flagman's hand. We're about to go back to green flag here at Dover International Speedway. A great look of the beautiful front stretch as the field now working their way out of turn number 4. We'll keep our eyes on this field as the pace car down pit road. Green flag in the air. James Lorello in the number 9 machine already roaring up at the front. Watch this pack go roaring on past the camera.
Yeah, I said, 15 truck hard into the wall right in front of our camera. I don't think that's going to bring out a caution, but that certainly is not going to help the health of that 15 truck. Is that thing has a ton of damage. That was a great angle for that. We'll see what happens here. 3 wide at Dover. That's not going to work. And just a hip check to that 15 truck as he gets hard into the outside wall. Luckily, the driver of that 15 truck will not feel that impact because luckily we have kind of a layer between us and these trucks and the good old internet and not feeling those G-forces, because that certainly would have not been pleasant to experiences. The 50 truck lost a position here on that restart. The 49 of Mitchell Adams got by. The 84 truck looking to make a move on that bottom lane rather, but 50 able to defend that move, and we'll see. Can Bill Edwards, who I think has been the second quickest trucks thus far tonight, can he get by that 49 truck of Mitchell Adams? And TJ Buck, a driver who started outside of the top 15, up in 4th position. We have seen quite a bit of speed out of that 84. That's a really good run out of turn 2. Is he going to take advantage of it down the backstretch? He's going to show that nose into turn 3, back off a little early, and we'll keep it single file. That's what we're talking about here, folks. It's so challenging, so difficult to pass here at Dover. Even if you set up the corner just right, it can be challenging. As this time that 84 truck will send it into turn 1, and that 50 will give him quite a bit of room, be quite courteous, in fact, and it's going to probably cost himself 2 positions going into turn 3 here as he lets that 84 and that 47 truck behind. Now he's going to be defending against Doug Neal in that 77. So 84 truck kind of coming not out of nowhere. We've seen pace from him tonight, but moving all the way up to 3rd and right on the tailgate of that 49 truck. So we're looking just behind that battle as Chris Darling's going to be able to clear that 50 of Bill Edwards.
And you start to see how this run is sorting out. Edwards now back to 5th, right behind Chris Darling, who's gotten himself back up to 4th. There's Robert Dudley in the number 15, who made that contact with the outside wall just a little while ago. Looks like he's going to ride the wall once again into the corner just to kind of get out of the way. Meanwhile, up at the front, TJ Buck and Mitchell Adams, they're now glued together at this racetrack. Adams slowly closing in as well on James Lorello, who might be just kind of managing that gap and saving his tires. We did mention that tires are fairly important here at Dover International Raceway. I know, Drew, you and I, we've raced here quite a bit. The fact that these cars kind of jumped out of the racetrack right there coming out of turn number 2 and turn number 4, the tires tend to get a little bit greasy. They tend to get a little bit slippery on the long run. Either the front end slips and you end up in the outside wall, or the rear end slips and you end up in the inside wall.
Yeah, and it's one of those deals where if you scrub those front tires, it can really hurt your times. I know I tend to, as I've mentioned before, I always feel like I'm about to kill the outside wall here at Dover. And so I tend to just put a little more wheel into it on exit, which is not what you want to do. It's just kind of my human nature where, and you put more wheel into it because you don't want to get in that outside wall. But what you're doing, in fact, is kind of artificially wearing that right front by putting more wheel into it than what you need to make the corner. And it's just so easy to do if you just kind of don't have confidence, don't quite feel comfortable inside that vehicle, that stock car that you're racing. And if you can just be kind of steady, easy on that wheel, only put in the amount of input that you need to put in to get this truck to do whatever you need it to do. Those are the guys that are so good at saving tires, so good at saving their equipment. And those are the guys that tend to run up front here at Dover, especially over long runs, as we're looking back towards the kind of tail middle end of the field. Well, towards the middle, we've had quite a bit of attrition. The 24 truck that we saw kind of smack the outside wall, and that 33 truck, they're right on the edge of the top 10 here, is the 33 of Jeffrey Johnson Jr. and that 24 of Ben Mashburn. Just out in front, that 2 of Justin White, who was involved in one of those wrecks that, quite frankly, it's kind of surprising. And Jamar Dumas here in that 28 truck. All of those guys, or at least those 2 that I specifically mentioned, had some pretty substantial damage from both getting into the outside wall and getting in to wrecks, that did or did not cause cautions. But great recoveries for both of those drivers. From, quite frankly, I thought this 28 truck's night was done based on the damage that he had early on. I remember looking while you were talking, Pete, under one of these cautions, looking at the 28 truck and thinking, man, that truck is killed. And here he is sitting inside the top 10. As looking back out front, it looks like the 49 truck is really starting to take this fight to James Lorello.
Yeah, here we are, lap 105, will be 106 this time by, and Mitchell Adams there just kind of holding on about 0.2 of a second behind James Lorello. TJ Buck another 0.2 back behind him or so. Then Chris Darling 0.4 back behind him, and look at Bill Edwards in the 50. We saw him get shuffled back to 5th. He hasn't gone anywhere. He's still holding on to the back of Chris Darling. And then you have about a 1.4 second gap back to this truck right here, the Rocket City Custom PC number 40 of Nicholas Bradley. But as I say that, this is a battle for that 6th position. Ben Adams, Sim Racing shirts on the hood of that race truck. He's going to drop to the low side and get up to 6th. But nonetheless, I was going to highlight this number 40 truck here tonight, Drew, because we haven't seen all too many great runs out of Nicholas Bradley. Keeping that number 40 truck clean here tonight, and definitely showing some pace because of it. We see a lot of other trucks damaged. They've been in the outside wall, but that number 40 looks very, very clean, and you can tell that that downforce is very important tonight.
Yeah, I mean, if you can keep that thing clean, you're probably going to finish well. As we just saw him pass the 15 truck, who had quite a bit of pace, and then unfortunately encountered some problems both in multi-car and single-car incidents, and you can see how quickly in the 51. Speaking of trucks that showed pace early on, that have damage, and just how crucial damage can be to that pace is. Looking at TJ Buck here and that 84 truck, I believe he has basically lost that position once again to Bill Edwards, and now Chris Darling has moved all the way up to third. He started in 10th position. Again, he kind of was not one of my sleepers, because certainly a guy who wins Talladega basically at a 90-degree angle to the rest of the field shouldn't be a sleeper, and certainly based on the pace that he has displayed, but kind of had a quiet practice, qualified just, and I mean just inside the top 10, but he excels at these longer runs, and that's what we're seeing here tonight as he's moved his way up onto the podium, as Mitchell Adams lost a little bit of ground here. But now looking back on Doug Neal, who is coming up on that 40 truck, one of the better nights we've seen pace from Doug. He's just gotten caught up in so many incidents early on this season. I'm sure he's looking, especially at a tricky place like Dover, just to keep that truck clean, get by that 40 truck, and really solidify his position up in that top 10, as now he has moved his way up into 7th position.
Yeah, the 7th position for the number 77 truck. So 7s are wild here tonight at Dover International Speedway. And of course, Simbox on the hood, as he has a little bit of connection issues there. If you're a sim racer, I'm a sim racer, I'll tell you what, you can't have enough buttons, either on your steering wheel or in reach. And Simbox, they make custom button boxes. You can check them out on Facebook. There's a link in the description. Just hit the show more button below the iRacing logo here on the page. If, of course, you're watching in a browser, you can click that button. There's a link to Simbox. Go check them out. A good quality button box product for a spectacular price. That's right. A lot of companies, they overcharge for just a bunch of buttons. But Simbox will give you a good quality product at a fantastic price, so make sure you go check them out. And they're also the series sponsor of the National Sim Racing Association Simbox Truck Series that we have in action here tonight. And definitely a great sponsor to have. And you can see a couple of trucks here sponsored tonight. Unfortunately, Nathan Maurer, the other Simbox truck, the 971, has called it quits. In fact, we've had a couple of trucks take it to the garage, including Andrew Himmelman, who was involved in that last caution flag. Looks like the number 4 has left the racetrack. Philip Scott as well, Nathan Maurer and Jeff Price, G.J. Boydell, and Joshua Sobel not starting here tonight. Joshua Sobel in that number 30 truck, not 100% sure why he could not take the green flag, same with G.J. Boydell. But both of those trucks will be credited with 29th and 30th positions, respectively. But up at the front, Lorello continuing to manage that gap over Mitchell Adams. It's now up to about 0.3 of a second. The battle for third, however, is heating up just a little bit here, Drew, because Bill Edwards, we've seen a lot of pace out of that number 50. He is closing in on the 47 of Chris Darling as this run continues to go on.
Certainly seems like that 50 truck has gotten better as these runs gone on. One of my curiosities is the last I could recall, the 84 truck was right on the back bumper of that 50, and now he is 3 seconds behind this battle. So I'm just wondering what happened to that 84 truck. Maybe I can go investigate and see kind of what happened there, because that certainly is a big gap. It doesn't look like there's any damage on the 84 truck. Maybe he's just struggling here, but the 5 of Ben Adams has gotten by him, and he definitely is not showing that pace that he showed earlier on in this deal. Is, man, I think I can't imagine that this is on all, like, essentially every truck in the field. I got to imagine that this is one of those deals that iRacing's having problems with. But now we're queuing up this replay to hopefully try to see what happened here with that 49. truck. Oh, yeah, that lap traffic, brutal. I think the 15 just blew up, too, right in front of Mitchell Adams here.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. The number 15 just blew a motor. We'll go on board here with last week's race winner, Mitchell Adams. Watch this puff of smoke come out the back of the number 15. Boom, there it is. And just nowhere for Mitchell Adams to go. Caught the number 15 at the wrong place at the wrong time. And unfortunately, that is going to really put a dent in the 49's race. It'll also put a pretty big dent in the front hood of that race truck. You can see that right there, as he's lost both second and third positions, now riding in fourth. Going to be interesting to see whether or not he can overcome that. But we have seen here tonight, Drew, and we've mentioned it many, many times, that keeping your truck clean of damage is one of the keys to the race so far.
Yeah, that is truly unfortunate for that 49 truck. I don't think there's anything the 15 could have done differently. Like, you don't expect to explode like that in front of a guy that's in second position. And there's certainly nothing that Mitchell Adams could do. I think he did a great job in his reaction time trying to avoid it. But unfortunately, I think that is very, very likely to remove that 49 truck from competition for at least this race win. I certainly think he has enough pace to still remain relatively competitive, but that is a lot of right front damage based on what we've seen damage doing to people's pace here at Dover. Maybe if he gets it fixed, we'll see, but certainly if this run continues going green like we've seen so far, I mean, heck, Pete, we're already on lap 124. This race, for being such a long one, certainly has flown by, which can happen here at Dover when you don't have a ton of caution. So Mitchell Adams already kind of running out of time to get that thing fixed. So we'll see. It's such a bummer for that 49 truck who, kind of just tended to like figure out more and more what he needed to do to be quick as the race moved on, and then to have that kind of unfold in front of him is certainly unfortunate. But what is one driver's misfortune is certainly Chris Darling and Bill Edwards' fortune, and that they have basically gained a position without having to work terribly hard for it. As now we're looking at a 24 truck that we saw get into the wall and essentially missed that huge wreck, and he has moved by that 40 truck just to up to, I believe that's 11th position for the 24 Ben Mash.
Yeah, Nicholas Bradley, since we last checked in on him in the Rocket City Custom PC Toyota Tundra, he has caught the outside wall as well. You can see definitely some right front damage on that truck. We'd been highlighting the fact that he was one of those drivers who'd kept that truck nice and clean. Well, unfortunately, that right front damage has now started to have him slide back down the field. There's Jeffrey Johnson Jr. in the number 33. He's kind of all by his lonesome for right now, trying to track down the number 2 of Justin White. That would be a battle for the 8th position. And what's happened to Justin White? He is off the pace here, Drew. He's coming down. Is this where we're expecting to see people down on pit road for a green flag pit stop? Surely looks like it, because here comes Jamar Dumas.
Yeah, and the 50 of Bill Edwards also on pit road. I've seen, and the 47 truck, in fact, 2 of our top 5 drivers here on pit road. Not terribly surprising. It's so hard to get a good estimate without getting out there and doing a full fuel run myself to really guesstimate this fuel run thing. But pretty short run here. I anticipate probably one more stop here to the end as we are on lap 128. As now we're looking at James Zarello, our leader thus far, coming onto pit road. Here at Dover, such a challenging pit road to get in and out of. You can make up a ton of time, and then you can also get a speeding penalty, and it can certainly cost you the ability to compete for a race win. But I think the guys that are able to maximize their pit road entry and exit are going to gain a ton of track position, but at great risk. And it certainly looks like Chris Darling's coming back down pit road. So here we come. Potentially a penalty for this 47 truck, as I believe he was just on pit road there, Peter.
Yeah, he was on pit road 1 lap ago, so not sure if this is a drive-through. Maybe they didn't get the truck full of fuel. We'll have to wait and see if that crew goes to work. Perhaps he missed his pit box. No, doesn't look like it. Looks like he's just going to sit in the box, maybe a time penalty of some sort, and definitely being held for quite some time, which is going to be an absolute heartbreak for Darling, who's been moving up through the point standings over the last couple of weeks. Of course, winning 2 weeks ago at Talladega, now stationary in his pit box. Now, your race leader is now cycled back through up to James Zarello, once again, 3.5 second lead or so over the number 50 of Bill Edwards. Ben Adams in the number 5 truck has cycled now through to third. Mitchell Adams, with all that damage on the 49 truck, he had actually just lost the position to Ben Adams before they headed down pit road. So Ben Adams here possibly looking at a podium. We'll have to check back in with Chris Darling. He's just now getting back out there onto the racetrack, but bad news for all you Chris Darling fans. 3 laps down.
Yeah, I was about to comment that it looked like he had gained a ton of positions in track time. Not positions, but definitely track time. He had put a huge gap on that 50 truck through the pit cycle. So what I suspect is that he might have been a little too quick exiting and then had to come back down and serve a time penalty. Certainly unfortunate for that 47 truck. It's just so easy to do here at any track, but specifically Dover, to get one of those big penalties. But this is certainly the cycle that James Zarello wanted to see. Gave him as big of a cushion as we've seen tonight here at just under 3.5 seconds between he and his teammate in that 50 of Bill Edwards. This is certainly kind of a comfortable position for a driver to be in here. About 47 laps to go now. 46 laps to go as he crosses the start finish line. About 3.5 seconds in front of his teammate. 1 pit stop to go. That gives you quite a bit of cushion if he's able to maintain this. He's able to stretch it about 2/10 that last time by. As that's a ton of lap traffic here for that 50 truck. If we can focus on this 50 truck here, Peter, yeah, tons of lap traffic with the 28 to 2 truck. 50 Bill Edwards looked to make it possibly 3 wide going into turn 3, but thought better of it. But this is just costing him so much time. Yeah, he lost an entire second to James Zarello that last time by. 3.6 to 4.6 seconds that lead grew to. So certainly not what you want to see when you're that 50 truck, and that's what can happen. A good pit stop can put you, cycle you out right in front of these lap traffic trucks, and not quite as good of a pit stop cycle can put you in this 50s position where you're not only trying to catch the 9 truck, but you're just trying to cycle through this lap traffic.
Yeah, another 3/10 that last time as well, as it looks like Matt Vander Kooij's going to stay out of the way. Now, if you're watching the numbers on the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see a lot of +1 laps. We're down to only 7 trucks on the lead lap, as James Zarello here has such a torrid pace. Bill Edwards 5.5 seconds now behind Lorello up at the front. Ben Adams, due to that lap traffic, was able to close in. Well, man, was that a hip check back there between Justin White and Jamar Dumas? It looked very close between them, or maybe that was Peter Serto, who now splits the number 5 and the 32, kind of a similarly painted truck. As Jamar Dumas in the outside wall, just scraping the right side paint off that truck just a little bit more. It's seen the outside wall once or twice. It's seen the inside wall here tonight as well in one of the earlier collisions out there. But just outside the top 10, there's Chris Darling, who's trying to charge his way through the field. He's down in 15th. He's trying to catch up to the back of Matt Vander Kooij. That is a battle for the 14th position between Chris Darling and Vander Kooij. I'm just going to look to see here, Drew, penalties on pit road. Doug Neal, Matt Vander Kooij also having penalties on pit road. Also getting word that some other cars, including Doug Billiner, penalty on pit road in the number 6 truck. He's running down in 19th. But for this man right here, probably the biggest loser of them all, because the other trucks were able to only pit once. Chris Darling had to come back down pit road, which definitely indicates that it was either speeding off pit road or an unsafe track entry. All these drivers have to stay below a blue cone before they enter onto the racetrack, and that might not have happened with Darling. But definitely he'd need a lot of cautions here in the final 39 laps to get back on the lead lap.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate mistake by that 47 truck. I think probably it was most likely unsafe entry or exit. I just can't imagine getting that big of a speeding penalty like that. But iRacing is certainly harsh with that stuff. I mean, it would be harsh in real life, but a speeding penalty in real life certainly wouldn't result in stopping in a time penalty. So just unfortunate for that 47 truck, but that is certainly a self-inflicted injury that he has there, which has cost him not only a chance to win, but I mean he's just hanging on inside the top 15 now. As we are on board here, I believe that's the 5. It's hard to tell here on the onboard camera. Right behind that 50. Yeah, that is the 5 truck of Ben Adams, who has caught Bill Edwards here through this heavy lap traffic. And unbelievably, right behind them, albeit 3 laps down, is Chris Darling. But yeah, Ben Adams has caught Bill Edwards here, 6 seconds behind the leader, but second certainly is better than third. Chris Darling almost got into the back of that 5 truck going into turn 3. But on board here with Ben Adams, and now looking at this battle from good old TV cameras. Yeah, he's just going to let that 47 by. That 47 looks very motivated right now and has had a ton of pace since that penalty. So we'll see how big of a fight Bill Edwards puts in that 50 truck. I think, yep, there we go. He sees what that 47's doing, and that this is the best way to lose as little time as possible. But, out of the groove, into the outside wall, that 50 goes, and he will let Ben Adams by into second position as Bill Edwards will drop to third.
Yeah, Adams now up into second, and Adams has 2 laps fresher tires than the number 50 of Edwards. And Drew, we've mentioned it here tonight, that tires are important, not only for the handling of these race cars, but if you look up at the top of your screen, we're bringing up the previous lap times. Lorello 23.67 last time by. That is about 1.2 seconds slower than his fastest lap that he's run, and that's in about 20 laps or so. Now, the big question here, Drew, is the fact that we got about 40 laps or so before we saw the trucks on pit road of fuel, 40 laps of fuel. They pitted with about 50 to go, so we're only a couple laps away from splitting that last 50 laps in half. So do you expect to see some trucks on pit road here shortly? Do you think they're going to stay out? We know they can go to about 10 laps to go before they absolutely have to pit. What are you thinking right now?
I certainly would expect the 5, the 50. I mean, realistically, I think those are the only 2 trucks that have a realistic shot to snatch this victory. I would expect them to be the guys that really start this cycle. If I'm James Lorello, I am going to base my pit strategy off of those guys. I'm certainly not going to try to pit before them and possibly get caught under a yellow. He has a 6.5 second lead. He is in firm control of this race. All he needs to do is ensure that he doesn't lose 6 seconds in a pit cycle. I think he is in great shape to do that. Just keep an eye on that F3. Make sure that those guys are not sneaking onto pit road without you realizing it and able to undercut you to the point where you lose that race lead. But I think even if you do, you have such an advantage that you're going to have much fresher tires than them. So I do anticipate the 5 and the 50 if they need to pit, which I really do anticipate them not being able to save enough that those guys will be the ones that are first on pit road. Maybe TJ Buck, Jeffrey Johnson, those guys are so far back that I don't think that they're in a realistic shot to win, but they could gain some track position by some aggressive strategy. Or maybe we see Lorello decide he doesn't want to risk, possibly running out, and we see the 84, the 49 truck, maybe the 49, especially considering that damage, maybe he's able to save gas because that truck is a little off pace, maybe has some engine damage. As I believe he just instantly made a liar out of me, as I believe we're looking at that 49 truck right now.
Yeah, that's the commentator saying one thing and the driver thinking another thing there, Drew, as he heads down pit road here. 27 laps to go. Going to come get 4 tires, I do believe, coming to his pit crew now. Let's see what the other drivers and how they react to this. Will we see Bill Edwards on pit road? Oh, there's your answer right there. Yes. Bill Edwards on pit road. Jeffrey Johnson Jr. still staying out. TJ Buck still out there in the racetrack. Ben Adams in the number 5. He's also staying out there another lap or so. James Arello in the number 9. He's really got nothing to gain by coming down pit road at this stage, Drew. I mean, he's got some seconds to burn, if you will, and if a caution was to come out, I mean, it could absolutely ruin Lorello's night. So I'm sure he's going to stay out there for, you know, a couple laps and just kind of wait for it to cycle through. But that's one of the nice things you can do when you have that much of a lead.
Yeah, I completely agree. He is doing the exact strategy that if I were his crew chief, that I would be telling him to do. It's, hey, we got a 7-second lead on second place. We had a 6.5-second lead. Well, actually, yeah, that was second coming in. Ben Adams had second, but even before Bill Edwards pitted. So don't worry about Bill. Don't worry about Ben. You know, save your stuff as much as possible as now we're seeing him come on pit road. So again, whatever I say, they're just going to do the opposite. So here comes James Zarello onto pit road.
I mean, I know that they've, you know, fallen off about a second and a half or so over this green flag run, but I'm a bit surprised. You know, he's going to go out there. He's going to be on the fresher tires. And now if a caution flag was to come out for the number 5 of Adams, if he can trap Lorello down a lap, but no. As I say that, now Adams is going to come down pit road. What about TJ Buck? He's also on pit road. So this is going to basically cycle us through this pit cycle. And we'll have to see how everything sorts out. We'll have to see whether or not the undercut by the likes of Edwards and Adams. There you see Bill Edwards right there trying to get around the 47 of Chris Darling. Now for Darling, he's definitely going to stay out here, Drew, because he's 2 laps down. And if he does catch a yellow, of course, he doesn't want to be the yellow as he catches the outside wall. That's something he did want to catch. Now he's only 1 lap down. So if a caution flag was to fly, and in fact, not only is he 1 lap down, he's in the lucky dog spot right now, the Brookstone Animal Hospital lucky dog spot. So if a caution flag was to come out right now, those 3 laps that Chris Darling was down, it would swing in his favor, but he only probably has about 12 laps until he absolutely needs to come down pit road.
Yeah, I mean, you got to try something, right? When you're in that position that Chris is in, you don't have a lot to lose because, quite frankly, finishing 15th compared to 18th, or I mean, I think the worst he finishes is 16th, and he was running 13th, 12th before that. So there's not a huge difference in that. There is a massive difference in getting back on the lead lap and having a chance to gain a ton of track position. So I absolutely agree with what this 47 truck is doing and trying to stay out, trying to get something, get a caution, get the lucky dog, get something to where he gets that as the 50. Whoa, that was a hairy moment there. Man, this last run, the last 20 laps have not gone how Bill Edwards wants. Is now that 49 truck is going to be able to get a run to his inside and take that 3rd position away. As now we're looking at that 40 truck of Nicholas Bradley. Where is he running? Fallen back. I believe, did he have a penalty, Peter? Now he's down to 13th.
Yeah, he did have a penalty this last time by. He pitted just about 5 laps ago now, had a 54-second pit stop. That indicates an iRacing time penalty, so definitely not what Nicholas Bradley wanted, but luckily due to attrition, I mean, he's still currently running in 12th, so that's the good news. The bad news is you can see there on the left-hand side of your screen now being scored 3 laps behind James Zarello, who cycled through back to the race lead, even though he was one of the last trucks on pit road. He had a big enough advantage over the 49 of Mitchell Adams and the 50 of Bill Edwards that that was A-OK. Meanwhile, Ben Adams in the number 5, he's doing a little bit of catch-up here, Drew, because the 49 and the 50, they did the undercut on him, and you can see from the numbers there on the left-hand side of your screen is we have a battle. What happened to Bill Edwards? I was just saying there was a battle for second, and he must have called the one.
Yeah, he was right up under the rear tailgate of that 49 truck, and I think just a bit of aero wash caught him out coming out of turn 4, and he absolutely pounded that right front into the outside wall. As now we're going to cue up a replay here for you guys. Yeah, you see he's just tucked right under that 49 truck, and maybe he loses sight, maybe a little bit of contact, and boom, huge contact for that 50 truck. That is not going to help the handling of that 50. Yeah, I think there might have been there definitely was contact, and that just threw that 50 truck into the outside wall. That is a ton of contact for that 50 truck. I would anticipate that has about ended his chances of at least competing for second, but I would have thought about the 49 truck, and he is currently in second, though. Ben Adams is chasing that 49 down, and yeah, I anticipate he will make short work of that 49 feet.
Yeah, that he will, and just goes underneath them now. If you remember, and you'll see this up at the top of the screen, Ben Adams has about 6 lap fresher tires than Mitchell Adams. That's why he made that look oh so easy. And now that number 5 truck back up into second. So Lorello, Adams, Adams, Edwards, your top 4. We're down to only 5 trucks on the lead lap. How about that, folks? TJ Buck, currently the last truck on the lead lap, trying his darndest to stay in front of James Lorello to stay on the lead lap. Jeffrey Johnson Jr. in the number 33 is the lucky dog. Whoa, was that Chris Darling who missed the entrance to pit road? Oof. And still struggling there. We'll catch this one here on the 3-wide TV replay, but Chris Darling here looks like he just got on the brakes a little bit too late and just not able to get down to the commitment cone. And we'll have to see. He did hit that white stripe there, Drew. Might be another penalty for the 47.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think in real life it would be. We'll see if iRacing decides to give him a penalty, if this is going to be a stop and hold or whatnot. But, the 50 and the 49 are mixing it up once again, as there was more contact between those two coming out of turn 4. That 50 truck really wants to get by Mitchell Adams here. So now we're going to queue up this replay for you guys. Yeah, coming through 3 and 4, right up on that tailgate once again, almost a mirror image. And there we go. Boom, just a little bit of contact, and that 50 truck decides, I'm not hitting the outside wall this time by. As once again, here comes that 50 truck now live, trying to make a move onto the inside of Mitchell Adams. Mitchell Adams, I don't care you're showing your nose. I'm going to cut down to the bottom of this turns 1 and 2, and a 50 truck trying to set up this pass. Now we're seeing when guys really want to contest that position, how very difficult. Oh my goodness, I thought that he was going to turn Mitchell Adams there through 3 and 4, and now that 50 truck is solidly side by side with that 49. Has that inside groove, is very, very likely to make this work through 1 and 2. He does. He will clear that 49 truck. That was a heck of a battle there, Peter.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, a little bit of Rubbins racing here at Dover. I know some people say it races a little bit like a short track. It kind of, I think you mentioned it at the top of the show, that it's like a grandiose Bristol. It's Bristol on steroids. And sometimes, yeah, you can give someone a little bit of a nudge to try and get him out of the groove. Luckily, these trucks still going A-OK. No one's in the outside wall turned around with a smoking engine or whatnot. So move the 50 of Edwards back up into third. The 5 of Ben Adams has checked out. He's now about 5 seconds in front of Edwards. Now he's not making any inroads on that man right there. James Lorello, who continues to lead here, will be 6 laps to go this time by, as he's all over the back of the 24 of Ben Mashburn. Mashburn gonna fall 2 laps down in the sun-kissed Chevy Silverado. He's 7th right now, Drew. 2 laps down. The number 9 of Lorello has put on a torrid pace in the last half of the race.
He certainly has. Going into this last cycle of pit stops, we were looking at what, a 3-second lead-ish, right around there, and now that's ballooned to darn near 10 seconds over the 5 of Ben Adams. Now, granted, second and third going into the pit stops have had some interesting racing going on, to just kind of put it bluntly. So I think that it's helped that lead, but I just think that no one's really been able to actually compete with that 9, as now we're looking at Justin White making a move to the inside of Ben Mashburn here. That, I believe, is for position. That'll be for 7th place, as that 2 truck been able to do a really, really good job recovering from some early race issues. He qualified on the pole and then kind of fell back a little bit, had some contact, and now is back up to 7th position. And that's a really nice job for that 2 truck. But going back to James Lorello, he's put on some really impressive performances pace-wise, but I don't think that I have seen any driver so far this year, so far at least, knock on wood, so to speak, here as we have 3 laps to go, but anybody put as complete of a race together as we have seen from James Lorello here tonight.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're going to put up numbers of laps led up there at the top of your screen. 171, and he just has 2 more to lead to close this one out. Right behind him, folks, that's the number 84, TJ Buck. 5th position, 1 lap down. And now it's Chris Darling trying to get one of his 4 laps back. He's going to drop to the low side of Lorello. He only pitted a couple laps ago. He finally had to pit, but the white flag is in the air for the number 9 of Lorello. Just one more time through turn number 3 and 4, Drew.
I think that's the only driver that's passed the 9 of James Zarello under green flag conditions all night on the white flag lap, but not for position, as James Zarello will bring it through 3 and 4 down the front stretch, and he will take the victory here at Dover. Heck of a performance. Over 170 laps led here for James Zarello, and this will be his 2nd win of the season.
Will actually be his 3rd win of the season, I do believe.
Yeah.
He got the win at Richmond and Atlanta Motor Speedway, if my memory serves me correctly. So definitely a master of the trickier racetracks. I mean, the trickiest 1.5 mile, Atlanta Motor Speedway, a very tricky short track at Richmond, and here tonight, the trickiest mile racetrack at Dover. James Zarello definitely showing him how it's done here. He's going to burn it down here on the front stretch right in front of TJ Buck, who was trying to come around to complete his 180th lap because he wasn't quite able to do that 1 lap down. Here comes Jamar Dumas to come across the start-finish line as well, but definitely a stellar night for the number 9 of Lorello here. He's going to do some donuts here on the front stretch, and he's just going to say hello to that Dover sign right there on the inside wall, Drew.
I apologize, James, for shortening you of a win. This absolutely is your 3rd win of the season, and it's kind of tricky. We've seen a certain Gregory Biffle get into the inside wall here at Dover, celebrating a victory. So certainly can't blame him for that. No one's going to pay to fix that truck, so burn that thing down and get into the wall, no big deal. But a heck of a performance for this 9 truck. We've seen him be quick at a variety of tracks. I think Dover is almost kind of unique in that you could be really quick here and not necessarily be quick anywhere else. That has not been the case for James Zarello. He has been quick here. He has been quick darn near every track that we've gone to thus far in the 2020 NSRA Simbox Truck Series. So heck of a victory for him. Really good job by our top 4. They were the only 4 drivers to be on the lead lap. I haven't seen that in a long time, especially in a race that didn't go green from start to finish. I think if this thing had gone green the entirety of its distance, I don't think there would be a single driver on the lead lap, save for the guy that we're looking at now in James Zarello.
Yeah, and he is doing a little bit of the Polish victory lap, going around the racetrack or backwards, I should say. So we'll let him do his celebrations here. We are actually just going to let him celebrate here. We're going to line up some interviews for you. We'll be right back here on 3Y TV, so don't go anywhere. All right, folks, welcome back to Dover International Speedway. I've caught up with tonight's 3rd place finisher, the number 50 of Bill Edwards. And Bill, a long race here tonight. You kept that truck looking pretty clean for about 3/4 of the race, picked up a little bit of right side damage there late in the running. And my big question is, how important was it to keep your truck clean? Because it seemed like as soon as you got that right front damage, kind of didn't have the pace after that.
Really, the damage didn't do much. I was still pretty quick. It's just a matter. Other people were able to get around lap cars just a touch better than me, and think that was the main difference. I doubt I would have kept it up with James because he was out in front there, and he was actually quite a ways out in front, so I don't even know what he was dealing with. But I know he's really good at saving tires, and he was probably getting around lap cars. I had a really hard time with some lap traffic.
Yeah, we saw at one point you had lap traffic come up in front of you, and it was just a huge gaggle of trucks. And that was about when you're about 5 to 6 seconds behind Lorello. How difficult it is as a race car driver to just kind of say, all right, I just got to be patient. I know I'm faster than them. But at the same time, I'm sure it's very frustrating.
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, it's part of Dover racing, and that's why they call it the Monster Mile. It ain't easy, so you just got to figure out a safe way around. A safe way around everybody. I mean, it's tight track. It's easy to spin out. It's easy to hit the wall. So just one of those things you deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely one of the tougher racetracks on the schedule here tonight at Dover. But next time out, next week, 1 week from tonight, a long race, 300 miles, 200 laps around Charlotte Motor Speedway. What are your thoughts about going to that 1.5 mile racetrack?
Yeah, I love Charlotte. I mean, Dover here is one of my favorite tracks too. So, but yeah, I'm ready for Charlotte. Charlotte's a good time.
How do you prepare for a 300-mile race? We've seen a couple of 250s this season in the Simbox Truck Series, but that extra 50 miles, only about 34 laps at Charlotte, how big of a difference does it make?
Oh, honestly, tomorrow we got the 6-hour endurance race. So if I can pull that one off, then it should be a piece of cake next week. NSRACarriers.com, and we got it 6 hours. 6 hours endurance should be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely got to give a big shout out to NSRACares.com. You see the logo there at the bottom of the screen. Make sure you go there. There's a link in the description as well for the video, and you can donate. And tomorrow, like you said, 6-hour race. It is going to be broadcasted. It's kind of a charity event. So, Bill, why don't you tell the folks watching where it's going to be broadcast and any other information about that race?
Oh, well, yeah, if you go to NSRACarriers.com, all the information is on there. I know Rust Ridge and I'm blanking here. Grandpa's Kitchen and McDonald's House Charities is our sponsors for tomorrow. So yeah, tune in and watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure you go to that link, check it out. But Bill, I have a 12-hour race in front of me tomorrow, so a lot of racing ahead of us for this weekend. But before we let you go, got any shout-outs for us?
Yep, got to give a shout out to NSRA and all these drivers. That was a blast. That was pretty good race at Dover. Not a ton of yellows. We got some green flag stops in. Got to give a shout out to Simbox, Brookstone Animal Hospital, Sim Racing shirts, Max Grafix, Lynchburg t-shirts. All those guys that make this fun stuff possible. I got to give a shout out to my mom. Hi, Mom. You're watching. I know she's on watching at her house. I gotta give a shout out to my buddy Cisco as well. It's his birthday today.
Yeah, awesome to hear that, Bill. But good job on a podium finish here tonight. Good luck in your race tomorrow, and best of luck next week at Charlotte.
Sounds good. Yeah, I hope you guys had a good broadcast and it's fun to watch. I'll be tuning in to 3 Wide TV as soon as I get done here.
Absolutely, was a great race. But Bill, we'll see you next week. Best of luck.
All right, take care.
All right, well, that is going to do it for a third place interview. Now, Drew Eisman's caught up with the second place finisher here, Ben Adams.
Hey, Ben Adams, Drew Eisman here in the 3 Wide TV booth. You got a copy?
I do, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. It certainly was an interesting race here. Quite a bit of drama. This is your best finish this year so far. Third at Talladega, second here at Dover, able to better that. This is such a tricky track, a tricky race. What was your mindset kind of coming into this, given your kind of up and down season thus far?
And so I feel like I've had good cars almost every race except last week, and just had bad luck or stupid mistakes. And I just said tonight, I love Dover, fun track. I said I'm just gonna survive, let the wrecks happen, and then move to the front. And that sort of worked, saving a little bit of tire and just being smart.
I would absolutely say that worked. Yeah, I mean, we saw the level of, I mean, kind of carnage might be a little strong, but certainly, kind of small amounts of chaos throughout the race. Um, how important was it to try to just stay out of trouble and save that right front? Because we saw that the guys that got into the wall, it seemed like it really killed their stuff. We saw a little bit of right front damage on that, but how focused were you on really just trying to make sure to keep that truck clean and bring it home?
Yeah, that's the main thing. I never made contact with the wall myself. A lap car, I was going for a lap car. He bounced off the wall and kind of caught my right front a little bit. But if you did the damage and you didn't get it repaired, it just seemed like the truck really got tight. And in team chat, a couple guys hit the wall and they were saying it was just real tight. So yeah, you just had to back off, run slower through the first runs, and then pass them on the long runs. And that strategy really seemed to work.
It certainly did, especially in your case. Those kind of green flag pit stops that we had late. How difficult was it to get on and off pit road here at Dover? We've seen in real life when and Matt Kenseth here in the early mid 2000s, get into the barrels at the entrance to pit road. We saw quite a few guys get penalties, entering, exiting, speeding. How number one, how difficult was it getting on and off pit road, and then how aggressive did you feel that you should be needed to be in order to kind of maximize track position?
I chose early on as a team. We made the decision in practice that we were going to enter low on turn 3 and not try to come down middle of the turn and risk all that. So we were real conservative on that, and I'm really glad we did because that thing comes up so fast. And then coming off, man, if you don't get in just the right spot, it's easy to loop it and go out in front of everybody. So we just decided as a team we were going to take it much easier down pit road, and I'm glad we did because a lot of the top guys, Chris Darling, for instance, man, I thought he was going to be a real contender. I was really worried about him, and he got that penalty and sort of took him out. So I'm glad we decided just to be real conservative on that because, man, pit road is tough here.
It's certainly, I have had several problems here in the past getting on and off pit road. Congratulations on your best finish of the season. Before we let you go here, is there anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, my sponsor, simracingshirts.com, Lynchburg T-shirt company. You can check that, lynchburgtshirts.com. My wife and my kids, man, they let me race. She doesn't complain. You can't beat that. And then just the team, Revolution Motorsports, man. Just every week we work together better and better. We get faster and faster, and it's starting to show on the racetrack. And then Chris Darling and all the guys, NSRA Simbox, man, we couldn't do it without y'all. It's just a great league, fun race, and thank you guys, man. Y'all do such a great job.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you for stopping by. And again, congratulations on your second place finish tonight.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
All right, well, that's going to do it for the second place interview. Let's see if we can dial up winner for the third time this season, the number 9 of James Lorello. James, I'll tell you what, man, absolutely dominating race here tonight. 180 lap race. You led 173 laps here tonight. What is it about Dover, man? You've found your groove all the way around this racetrack.
Wow. I mean, the setup was really good. It wasn't very loose. I knew that I'd be pretty good coming in here. I didn't expect to be, that good to lead that many laps with these guys. But once you get in a rhythm here, it's just a bigger Bristol to me, and it's a real rhythm track. And all about the drive off of these trucks, and I was able to do that and maintain the tires tonight, and it worked out.
Yeah, it absolutely worked out. And of course, a couple wins to your name so far this season. How does this one rank up? Because I think this is the first time we have seen anyone all season kind of get out front and dominate the race like you did tonight.
Yeah, this one felt good. I felt better than the other ones. The other ones were great races, but I feel like the first one was a bit of pit strategy, and I feel like this one I really show that I can drive and can compete with these guys. So felt really good to get this win. Glad to have a third one. I'm in the top 10 in standings, but I missed a race. So I'm just trying to work my way up there, make sure I can be in contention for the chase.
Yeah, absolutely. You squeaked your way into the top 10 in points after last week at Kansas, and here tonight, this win will definitely do you some favors as you start to close in on the top of the board. But James, next week we of course go to the 300-mile event at Charlotte Motor Speedway, mile-and-a-half racetrack. You got one win at Atlanta Motor Speedway earlier this year on a mile-and-a-half. What are your thoughts about Charlotte?
Yeah, I feel good about Charlotte too. I really like the mile and a halfs. The tricky thing in these trucks is just the draft. So it's hard to get away like you can here at Dover. And if we can get some long green flag runs, I feel pretty good about it. And just not getting caught up in any wrecks and any of the silliness on track. I was pretty close to a win last week at Kansas too. So hopefully I can keep this momentum going. It's been fun, and this was a great race.
Yeah, definitely was a fantastic race here tonight for you in that truck, and I gotta say, dominating performance, a statement win, if you will, here tonight. But before we let you go, you got any shout outs for us?
Yeah, of course. Thanks to Simbox for sponsoring the series and National Sim Racing Association. This has been some good racing. I think we were worried about going into Dover, what it could look like, but this was an excellent race and really had a lot of fun. And thanks to Bill and Matt and the S2R team. We were both strong tonight. I thought he'd be able to hang with me and stay in second, but he got caught up in some lap traffic. But either way, this was great. Can't wait to take it to Charlotte, and thanks you guys.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, James, for stopping by the 3 Wide TV booth. Hope you have a good race next week, and maybe we'll get to talk to you then.
We'll see you then. I appreciate it.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for our post-race interviews. And Drew, I got to say, that number 9 machine, very, very quick here tonight. Someone already in the NSRA Discord saying he was on his own zip code, and that's pretty darn accurate.
That zip code would be just 9W1, right? Nine with the win. So yeah, heck of a race by James Zarello. I mean, just nobody even close to him tonight. But a solid job. I think the vast majority of our field, especially the guys that finished, a really, really, really challenging race out there, as we saw. The 50, the 5. Brought home, relatively clean trucks. Anybody who brought home a clean truck should consider themselves to have a victory tonight, but none quite performed like this 9 truck that we're looking at right now.
Yeah, without a doubt, definitely a fantastic race for all of these drivers here tonight. Let's talk about the post-race, because we do bring up those post-race results. Taking home the win, 3rd time this season, James Zarello in the number 9. Ben Adams with his best finish of the season in 2nd. Bill Edwards in the number 50. He will extend his lead on the points side of things. Mitchell Adams, last week's race winner, goes back-to-back top 5s in the 49 truck. TJ Buck, first truck 1 lap down. That's right, we only had 4 trucks on the lead lap here tonight in 5th. Jeffrey Johnson Jr. in 6th. Good run for him. He was atop the leaderboard in the standings a couple of weeks back. And he's kind of slid down the standings, but a good bounce-back run for him here tonight. Justin White finishing in 7th with a lot of damage on the number 2 truck. Ben Mashburn, he had mashed the wall a couple times here tonight in the sun-kissed number 24, but able to hold it together for 8th position. Jamar Dumas in the 28, similar story in 9th. And Nicholas Bradley, who had a late race pit road penalty. What could have been for Nicholas Bradley here tonight could have been a top 5 in order for the number 40, but instead going to round out your top 10.
Yeah, and that 88 of Michael Mooney will be the first truck outside of that top 10 and 11th position. Chris Darling, man, showed so much pace tonight, and that huge penalty on pit road ultimately cost him a good finish. 12th isn't bad, but I think it's certainly not as well as that 47 should have finished. Matt Vanderkoy will bring home that 60 truck in 13th. Peter Serto, who was unfortunately involved in a wreck early on, brings it home 14th. Stephen Doziak with a little bit of drama in his race will bring it home 15th. Doug Neal, another guy in that 77 truck who had a penalty, will bring it home in 16th. Joey Doucette will come home 17th. Paul Bilson, who had quite a bit of damage on that 51 truck, was able to hang in there in a heck of an effort for him to just keep on the track and bring it home in 18th. Doug Milliner in 19th, and then Jordan Shepler, also involved in a wreck, will round out your top 20.
And then finishing in the 21st position, Colin Ullery, 84 laps down. Robert Dudley in the 15, blew a motor in that truck, finishing 22nd. Andrew Himmelman, so fast, both in qualifying and in practice. Definitely going to be disappointed with a 23rd place finish here tonight after getting involved in an accident. Same deal with Brian Bradley, who had a brief spell inside the top 5. Philip Scott here tonight, early accident for him. He finishes 25th. Nathan Maurer, similar deal, 26th. Jeff Price saying, man, 3 weeks in a row in that number 14 trucks. Definitely not the night he was hoping for, finishing down in 27th. The judge, Joshua Sobel and GJ Boydell, not starting here tonight. And definitely 30 trucks here did get onto the racetrack in practice, but only 27 of those did start. But now we're going to have to talk about one thing that we always talk about at this point of the week, and that is this man right here, Jeffrey Johnson Jr. We'll see if we can bring up his standings right there. Gained 15 positions in the race, which makes him the Taz Racing Customs biggest mover of the race. Definitely a strong night for that number 33. Getting a little bit of a bounce back race. Make sure you check out Taz Racing Customs for all of your needs when it comes to your custom diecasts. If it's a custom diecast of a real truck or a sim racing truck or whatnot, make sure you go check them out. But Drew, great race here tonight. Looking forward to Charlotte Motor Speedway. Any final thoughts?
Nah, Charlotte, heck of an endurance race, stock car, sim stock car style, coming up next week. I think it's not going to be nearly as brutal as this race was as far as punishing mistakes, but it certainly is going to be a test of an endurance and being able to keep your focus and just making sure everything goes right. So I'm looking forward to it. I think from the announcing booth, it's going to be a challenge, and definitely behind the wheels of one of these trucks, it's going to be challenging as well.
That it will. Very much looking forward to it. Before we go, got to give a huge shout out to Simbox for sponsoring the Simbox Truck Series, as well as the other league sponsors. Of course, you see all of them up in the top left-hand corner of the screen, scrolling throughout the race, including Brookstone Animal Hospital. You see right there, Rocket City PCs Max, Grafix, and others. Lynchburg T-shirt company right there, and the Sim Racing shirts are kind of the same company, but definitely great to have them on board this season in the Simbox Truck Series. Also, big shout out to our friends over at Sim TV for the camera angles that we bring you each and every week right here on 3 Wide TV. They definitely do a great job. Make sure you give them a like and follow here on YouTube as well. But Drew, I think it's about time to wrap things up.
Sounds good, man. A heck of a race tonight, and once again, congratulations to that 9 at James Arello for putting on essentially just spanking the field.
Absolutely. So for myself, Peter Short, Drew Eisenman, we'll see you guys next week for same Simbox Truck Series action. Charlotte Motor Speedway, we're looking forward to it. See ya!